Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Candice and I help girls and women with ADHD understand and manage their brain. Today, I wanted to make a video about the time management strategies and my planning strategies that I've put into place so that I can organize my life on a day-to-day basis, know what I'm going to do throughout the day, and keep track of my to-dos and actually get stuff done. It took me a while to figure out the system to put all the elements together because I use several apps and concepts to manage my time and manage my life. I wanted to go through all of them in a more or less structured way. I'm doing this video because I think it's really important for someone with ADHD to have a reliable system to get organized, but we often fail to have one because it's so hard for us to find a system that works. Most of the systems that are presented out there, whether on YouTube or anywhere on the internet, is usually not made for someone with ADHD and more for someone who's neurotypical. I've tried a lot of neurotypical systems, like having a physical planner. This never worked for me. I tried many different types of planners, the very basic ones and some where you had prompts and stuff, and usually I never kept it, and it fell out of my mind after about a week or two. That's why I'm making this video, because in the last few weeks I put together a lot of stuff that has made me quite productive and able to relax, knowing that I have a system put in place so nothing's falling through the cracks and I know I'm gonna get things done. So that's what I wanted to tell you today. I'm gonna go through all those little things that I use on a day-to-day basis. So if you're interested, then let's get started. Okay, so first thing is I started using this method when I was in my first year of uni, and this method is time blocking. I was completely new to time blocking at the time and I didn't know what it was, but I was reading this book that I have right there called How to Become a Straight A Student. This book was written by Cal Newport, and I'm a huge fan of Cal Newport. If you don't know the guy, he wrote Deep Work, So Good They Can't Ignore You, Digital Minimalism. So he's really into healthy productivity and getting away from technology, as far as I can tell. This book was written in his early years as an author. He basically went around the States asking successful students, straight A students, how they manage their time and all the techniques that they use to have straight A's all the time. The first chapters was on how to manage your time, and the title is actually quite catchy because it says how to manage your time in less than 5 minutes a day. As usual, I'm always looking for a new system to put in place in my life to get more stuff done, so I was like, oh, interesting. And I read the chapter. So he basically says that to organize your time, you only need to have one sheet of paper. You can do it digitally, of course, and you can do it just on a random piece of paper or a notebook. And you basically split your sheet of paper into two. On one side, you write your schedule of the day. So you write today's schedule, and then you time block everything in your day from the moment you start your day to the moment you stop working, basically. It can be from 9 to 9:30, I'll do yoga. From 9:30 to 10, I'll commute to work. From 10 to 11, I'll work on that specific paper. And you just do all those time chunks that you can alter as you want because you're writing them down. So you can do 20 minutes time chunks, 5, an hour and a half, more. You can really design it however you want, which is the strength of this method. Once you're done, you have an overview of your whole day in time chunks. And this can seem very overwhelming to the people who don't really like time blocking because they feel it's restraining in a way, but it's actually the opposite. You realize that once you start time blocking, you know what you're supposed to do at any time of the day, and you're not distracted by wanting to do something else while you're doing something. And this is very huge for someone with ADHD because I always feel like I could be doing a million other things when I'm doing something, and so having time blocking takes a bit of this stress away, the stress of wanting to do everything at once. And then on the second column on the right, you actually put all the things to remember for the future. So you log in anything that comes up during the day that you hadn't written down anywhere. For example, if you remember that you need to do laundry, you won't schedule it right away in your week or in your day. You just want to write it down on the right so that you remember to go back to it the next day when you plan your day, and either plan it for the next day or you can add this to-do to another day. That's why the system requires a calendar. So Cal Newport just says get any paper calendar that should be able to contain 10 or 12 to-dos per day so that you can log in those things to remember. And then when you're on the specific day, you have all those to-dos and you could sort through them and say, okay, I want to do laundry, I want to work on my essay. I said also that I would buy a gift for my mom, but actually I want to do that later, so I'm going to move it to next week. You write it down on another day, and then when you get to that day, then you decide, am I doing it today, am I doing it next time, etc. So it's a very easy, straightforward system for getting things done and knowing where your time goes. That alone is not really sufficient for me. I don't like using a calendar, like just a plain calendar, and having those to-dos like floating around. So I actually use this with Notion. If you don't know Notion, it's an amazing note-taking app and it has a lot of powers. Instead of logging my task into a plain calendar, I just log them into this task management system, which makes it really easy because I can annotate the task, I can add context, I can add whether I need to do them ASAP or not, and then I can go back to this task list and then put it in my day planning, time blocking thing as I go. So it's really, really useful to have Notion in the back. So you need to have like somewhere where you log your task. It can be anything. I use Notion. You can use literally anything. There's another step that I use to make my time blocking more appealing. One thing we struggle with when we have ADHD is time blindness. And I know that if you have ADHD, you're very familiar with this. We don't really know where time goes unless we have like proper boundaries and limits to remind us that time passes. One very good app that I discovered and started using avidly because of the widget that they developed is the app Waves. Every day is a circle and you can fill in this circle with tasks that are categorized. You have eat, sleep, relax, work, flow. You basically drag and drop. Let's say I'm doing my morning routine. This is a flow activity, so I'll just drag and drop flow into my circle, and then I could adjust the time that it takes me to do this activity. From there, you can just like reconstruct your day. So I usually do my time blocking on a piece of paper or on my iPad actually, and then I take all the chunks and I like to put them in Waves because then it makes it digital, so I can be reminded of when I need to switch tasks, and I can see it on my phone, on my widget. Every time I open my screen, I can see what I'm supposed to do, and it also shows you the evolution of the task, so like how far I am through the task with a little circle. So it's extremely useful. I love it. I always advise it to people with ADHD to try it because it's so colorful and fun, and you can switch emojis, you can switch a lot of things up to make it very personal, which is why I really love it. And the color coding thing is huge for me. That is, I guess, the second element of my day planning. So if you zoom back and you think more in terms of planning a year, months, and weeks, I do use a calendar, and I actually use Apple's calendar, so iCal, I guess. I tried using Google Calendar. I don't know why Apple seems more convenient for me and instinctive. I use color coding again, so I think I split in terms of personal, work, studies, like some very broad themes in my life, and so I know when I add an event to my calendar that it corresponds to a specific bucket. So actually that's the term that Thomas Frank uses in his last video. So he made a video about how to organize yourself and like what calendar to choose, so I'll definitely link this in the description below. It's a very good video that summarizes why it's good, for example, to separate your life into buckets, so that's the terms he uses, and to color code those buckets so you make it very easy to know where your time goes. So even something very trivial like having drinks with friends, I will write it down in my calendar because I want to make sure that I remember. I'll get like a reminder an hour or two before so that I never forget. And also it allows me to see clearly in a week what I have planned. So it's been really useful, and I do this with any events that comes up, regardless of its nature. If you do this when you have ADHD, it saves you a lot of time and energy. You don't have to keep anything in your head and feel bad about forgetting stuff anymore. It's okay to just put everything down on paper and let your brain work on something more stimulating than keeping events in your head. So yeah, I guess that was like the third point, using a calendar and putting everything possible you can think of in it. So you can see that I have developed this system for myself and it works quite well. Actually, you can't see that it works, but I'm telling you, it does for me, and those elements are seriously something needed by anyone with ADHD, especially the time blocking thing, which is a lifesaver. And I can say that because when I first started it in my first year of uni, it was the system that actually lasted the longest. I realized that I used it for almost like a month and a half, which is very long in terms of me trying out stuff. I usually quit like after a week, so a month and a half was a long time, and I got so much done at that time. And obviously something made me fall off track and then started again like years later, but I knew that there was something in there, so I always come back to it when I feel stressed and I try other techniques that don't work. I'm like, I know that time blocking works, but I just need to figure out a way to make it attractive and make it stick. And I think I found this recently, and that's why I wanted to share it with you. Obviously, I know it's gonna evolve and I'm gonna add layers to the system or maybe simplify it. This is just how it works for me right now. I also, when I tried bullet journaling a few weeks ago, so I realized it wasn't for me because I tried again another system and it didn't really work, but I kept the habit tracking thing and I thought it was a bit stupid at first, but actually it really does again make me see time pass, because it's very easy if you don't track to just like kind of see time as a unreal thing, and tracking your habits makes you see when you tick boxes that correspond to actual days. You can see how you've been doing over the past few weeks or month, and it's quite useful to reflect back on yeah, your habits, your goals, how close are you getting to your goals, etc. And that's another aspect that I need to include in my system, which is lacking right now, is how to manage goals and planning for the future, because my system is really good for planning short term in terms of days and weeks, I guess, but I still don't have a good and non-overwhelming way to plan for the weeks ahead, the months ahead. That's still something that's very stressful for me, and I'm looking for ways to do it in a systematic, organized way that I could always come back to, and that wouldn't feel overwhelming and that wouldn't be too much. If that makes sense. So definitely stick around on my channel if you want to see another video on how I managed to include those yearly time management thingy. I hope you really enjoyed this video. It was a bit of a more casual one than the other ones, but I really hope I get to make another one when I have found some more techniques and I have actually rounded up this whole system and made it something very clear. There's still room for improvement, a lot of improvement actually, but I think it's good that I found this basis for managing my time, and I hope this helps. I hope you can get something out of it. Maybe try the Waves app or try time blocking. I would highly recommend, even if you're not a student, maybe you get this book. Actually, it's better if you're at university because it can give you a lot of tips. But even if you're not, then there's the whole chapter on time blocking, and I think it's really well explained and in a really simple way. That's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope again that you enjoyed. If you did, don't forget to click the like button below, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more, and click on the bell notification so you don't miss any of my upcoming videos. Also, if you like the video, don't forget to share it with your family and friends who could benefit from it, maybe people with ADHD who struggle to get organized. And if you want to check out a video with tips for your ADHD brain, I just released a video last week about ADHD and how exercise affects your ADHD brain in a positive way. So you can go check that out. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.